Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a book review for you for a comic book. I don't think I've done many comics at all on my channel at all. This is Star Wars Volume 2, Darth Vader, or Star Wars Darth Vader, excuse me, Volume 2, Into the Fire. This is written by Greg Pak, or Pak, I think it's Greg Pak, who I don't know much of. It's also, the art is done by Raphael Ienco, I think is how you say the name. I will tell you up front, I read the first volume like a year ago, and I really, really liked it from what I remember of it. I vaguely remember anything about it, but I do remember that it's post-Empire Strikes Back. Of course, this one is as well. This one follows it directly after that first volume. And, of course, this is the current, at this certain point, I'm assuming it's still going on, or ongoing. This is supposed to be the new Darth Vader ongoing series. Since Disney bought Star Wars, we've had about 2 or 3 or 4 different Star Wars ongoing Darth Vader comic series. And of course, I love some comic books. I love my novels and stuff, but I love some comics. There's just something different about it. I like the way that medium works most of the time in modern day stuff. Not so much in like the political aspect with the SJWs and whatnot, but a lot of the time just I like the modern, more cinematic scope of telling movies, or almost movie style, again, cinematic style stories. I like that a lot more with the modern comics of the last like 10 or 15, 20 years. But older comics are a little wordy, so I have a hard time trying to get into that and really enjoy that for the most part, unless it's like a creature feature type of thing, like an old classical horror, Tales from the Crypt type of style storyline, like an EC Comics type of thing. I really dig that kind of thing. Anyway, I read Volume 1. I remember very little about it, but this is Volume 2, Into the Fire, and I had a good time. It's not amazing. It has some of the same Darth Vader complaints that I have with Star Wars all the time. I think a lot of fans have the same issue. Number one, I will say, it's pretty repetitive of the same thing you see all the time. I don't care what it is. There's literally one of the first novels Disney put out as a Star Wars novel when they bought the whole property was called Star Wars Dark Lords of the Sith or something like that. I have the book literally down here. Yeah, Lords of the Sith. That's what it's called. The book sucked. It was really bland and just boring. Nothing impactful. Nothing important. You constantly, every time Vader has a comic series, we constantly focus so much on his issues with him and the Emperor that he serves. And it's always a thing. And this story tried to at least do something a little bit different, but it ended up in the same place that these stories always end. Vader gets rebellious, of course, at the end of Volume 1, and he goes on kind of a murder spree of all the people who hid Luke Skywalker's identity from him and that his existence from him. Of course, this is post-Empire now, so, you know, he knows that Luke is his son. He's told Luke, hey, I'm your father. Luke doesn't want to join up. Luke goes missing and whatever. And I haven't been keeping up with the regular Star Wars line about Luke, Leia, and Han for a while. I read the first volume of the newer series that's post-Empire, like I said, but I haven't read Volume 2 of that, but I do own it. I hope to catch up at some point. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, the first volume, Vader's basically hunting out people that hid Luke Skywalker's existence from him, and he's kind of pissed off over the Padme thing still, like he always is. It's kind of Vader's gasoline to keep going. And in this particular volume, he's just kind of... The Emperor basically wants to teach Vader a lesson, and this is a brutal way to start up the story. He basically picks Vader up with the Force. After Vader tries to choke like a bunch of guys, he starts choking Vader with his Force, and... That was a weird way of putting that. Anyway, he, you know how Vader has like one arm that's metallic and robotic, and the legs are both robotic, and one arm is a human hand or whatever. Basically, the Emperor just decided, wait, did he? No, he doesn't have any arms or legs. That's right. I always get that confused. I completely messed that up. Anyway, he basically uses the Force and crushes both of Vader's leg robot pieces and one of his arms. So he gets his left arm. So he only has one arm, and basically he gets thrown out of Mustafar for the Emperor to be able to teach him a lesson. He basically tells him, hey, here on Mustafar on the side of this volcano fire lava stuff is where I grabbed you up, I rebuilt you and whatever. Now you need to do it for yourself because you've gotten a little ego, Vader. So Vader goes on a little kind of a panic spree because the Emperor also sends like a bounty hunter after him. And this bounty hunter, I don't remember the name, it was very Japanese in name. It was pretty cool. This guy has a very cool look to him. He shows up, he's starting to kind of like stalk Vader. Vader has to like rebuild his arms and legs really fast from other pieces of other droids to try to be able to get going, to be able to fight this bounty hunter. And that's not the whole storyline. This storyline is actually only, let's see, I forgot to check how many issues it was. It's about 131 pages as a total book, but it looks like to me that it is 9, 10, 11, 6 issues long for this particular volume. A lot of the trade paperbacks have different amounts of, issues listed inside of there. I just want to make sure I got it right. But it is a 6-issue story. I figured being 131 is probably about there. But it's very cinematic in the storytelling. I think Greg Pak did a really good job with what he's telling. But again, it's kind of the entrapment of what's happening with Disney. You can't really tell anything that affects the future possibilities of future projects and timelines and characters and novel stuff that they're trying to come up with that they suck at doing. It's just, this whole world feels so cardboard and so two-dimensional because Disney took over and they deleted all this history of old media, of comics and books and everything else. You see how desperate they are. They recently renewed a license with Dark Horse Comics to be able to come back and breathe some freaking life into the comic books. It's gotten that bad with a lot of the stuff. But this series I've enjoyed so far. I think Greg Pak's doing a really good job. I don't know if he's still on the job now. I'm so far behind on comics. And it seems to me like he has a good motivation on where he's going. But after this volume, I don't know what you could do with a volume 3. And mind you, I don't buy a single issue, so I don't know what's been happening since, if there is anything after this volume. But it's been fine. It's a good story. I enjoyed it. I had a solid time this time around. A lot of violence. It's one of the things I love about the Vader comics, man. It doesn't matter what series it is, what series, what era, what writer. They always have this brutal violence that Vader is so well known for, and it's so much fun. I hate, though, in like games and movies and stuff, when you have a situation like the new Halo games, like Halo 5, for example. I bought that, I started playing it. I don't get to kill the big aliens anymore, the Covenant. I always forget the name. I don't get to kill the Covenant, but I get to kill the robots. Robots? It's not fun. There's no blood. There's no oil. There's nothing cool to feel satisfying like I killed something in real life. It's not as satisfying. And it's kind of the same situation here. Vader's mostly fighting like robots and stuff. But there's a lot of humor here. There's more humor here in some lines I can't hear Vader saying. I very rarely find this happen in books and novels involving Vader's perspective on something, where he'll make a one-liner, like in that one part of Rogue One, the movie, where he just dropped that line and was like, he's making puns, I think that's stupid, like, don't choke on your aspirations. That's terrible. I hate when Vader says stupid things like that. It's not Vader, man. It doesn't sound like Vader. It doesn't feel like what Vader would say. There's a couple of lines in here that are kind of like that. But overall, when it comes to the overall adventure, the lightsaber stuff, that's pretty great. I read Star Wars for lightsaber stuff. I could care less if it's not Star Wars stuff. It's very, very rarely that I find my interest in something that's not involving a Jedi or a Sith. But even so, I had a really good time. I recommend it. I recommend Volume 1 and 2 if you haven't checked them out. It's been pretty interesting. I think Volume 1 was better than Volume 2, but both were good. Does that make sense? That's what I feel like with it. But so far, the Darth Vader series, once again, has been better than the mainstream Star Wars comics, with Luke, Han, and Leia, and Lando in this case, because it's post-Empire now. I hope they don't lose steam again, because they lost steam with maybe 2 or 3 volumes, like maybe a couple of years into the first run after they first bought the Star Wars license from George Lucas. Like, within a couple of years, they had lost steam. They were telling nothing worth telling at all. They got to, like, Yoda stories and then R2-D2 short stories, and the Jason Aaron run ended on a bad note, man. It was a shame. But anyway, that's pretty much my thoughts when it comes to Star Wars Darth Vader Volume 2 Into the Fire. It's a good read. I recommend it if you like comics. I recommend it if you like Star Wars comics, even if it's the newer crap that Disney's been putting out. This is pretty solid. I dig it. I hope to review some more comics at some point. Not bombard you, but just a couple of things here and there. I'm actually reading the Civil War Fantastic Four book. I've never read that as much as I read so much Civil War stuff from that era of Marvel. I'm pretty interested so far in this book. It's okay. But I can't wait to talk about it at some point more in depth. This is not just a horror channel. I'm going to review other things every once in a while. Maybe some classical literature every once in a while. I don't know. But I'm going to talk a little bit about anything, pretty much. Not just horror, but some comics, just things I love. Again, Goosebumps, it's technically horror, but still. But that's pretty much what I wanted to let you know and share with you. Anyway, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I think I'd give it like a good 4 out of 5 stars. It's pretty fun, it's enthralling. It's all I want from a book. I just want to be engaged. I don't care if it's pretty repetitive, like the Darth Vader comics and Darth Vader novels and all that are pretty much always repetitive. All this Emperor versus Darth Vader stuff, it's rehashed over and over and over again. Rich Evans on Red Letter Media said it perfectly. Star Wars is creatively bankrupt. It just is. And I don't care about that. As long as you tell me something I care about and can enjoy and characters are brought to the screen that I like, or in this case the page, that's fine. I don't care. But I had a good time with this. Vader's always fun to watch. He's just a brutal, brutal bastard on things that he does, and I love it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Happy Thanksgiving once again. That should be the last video I upload tonight for you guys. God bless you. Goodbye.